Morning, everybody. Excuse me. Let's get back into this. All right. Got the kettle on. And let's go answer some comments while we're getting going here. Good morning to everyone who's here this morning. Do, 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 do. Got the kettle going. Dun, dun, dun. Morning, Will. I lost my voice there for a second. All right, let's get all these questions done, comments answered. Ah, mashed my microphone. Morning, Karaoke Gaming. Getting some comments answered here on YouTube, and then we're gonna hopefully get some coffee soon. Waiting for the kettle. And if I miss it again, I'm sure Chris will get it, but it's funny here. Uh, Will T, you see that game that's behind me right now? You can't hear the music because I'm tabbed out. I'm actually going to be playing my point and click game this morning here as soon as I get done answering comments. Morning, Dwarf Temp. But yeah, we'll dive in here in a few minutes. So stick around. Right now, I'm just answering some questions on YouTube and waiting for people to show up, get people in here, and then I'm gonna get going. And I'm waiting for the kettle too because I don't want to get too sidetracked. Oh yeah, Sparrow, I need mine. Well, the demo is available for free right now. You can go over to patreon.com/wandering hermits and you can sign up to the newsletter and you can get it downloaded. Let's get going, actually. I think I've done enough YouTube comments for the morning. Let's take a bit. So, morning, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Tim Anderson, aka Renfail. My voice is a little shoddy this morning. Stayed up late talking to my brother last night. And I need coffee, which we'll get here in a few minutes. Yeah, so today I'm gonna do, oh my god, and right away I gotta go. Hang on, I gotta tab out and get rid of this. I can actually do it from my phone, I think. And a spammer in the chat. This morning I'm gonna be playing An Adventurer's Tale, which is the point and click game that my brother and I and my wife have been working on, alongside the rest of our projects with The Weave of the Void, which is the world map behind me. This is a point and click game set in our world. The world takes place, it's a 5th edition tabletop setting. The campaign module and sourcebook are due out May or June. If you are in the Discord, we teased some really cool art last night. We started getting character art from Nathan Napalm. We got the first 2 pieces completed last night, and we teased one of them in the patrons section of Discord. But this world is something we've been working on since March of 2021. It is the latest project from us after the Saga Lucime MMORPG that we worked on for about 7 years. And it's the point and click game, the 5th edition tabletop setting, and we also have a series of novels that are being worked on, which are like Dragonlance. And the 13th chapter of the first novel goes live today over on Patreon. So if you want to check all that stuff out, it's patreon.com/wandering hermits. You can download the free demo. There's a link to the newsletter there. You can get signed up. So our primary inspiration was like King's Quest and Quest for Glory. It's a very basic system we do not have combat in our game. This is a puzzle and narrative game. So I've already skipped past the intro, where you're told about the fact that, you know, you've grown up in this small little town, this little village of Marin's Rest, where you've spent all your life. You are a basically mid-teens character. One of the things we haven't finalized yet, because we are still building the game, we got to do some work on the animation, which you'll see later on as we get into this. We're just using placeholder animation for the moment. So the rigging and everything is a little funky, and he stands a little bow-legged. We currently only have the male avatar in, but we're getting the female avatar in as well, so that when you start the game, you can choose to be a male or a female. So you start off here, you've woken up in your bedroom. What are you supposed to be doing here? Well, we'll find out. So we can look around. There's a bookshelf here. While not as full as the shelves of lore and lexicons, you may have managed to scrounge up a few decent titles over the years, either purchased with your own coin or gifted by Rupert Longshanes, proprietor of the only bookshop in Marin's Rest. There may also be a couple of titles that you came upon by somewhat less than proper means. And then over here we've got our desk. You aren't seasoned enough to use this desk for anything of major importance, but you do keep a daily journal where you scratch notes from your favorite books and plan great adventures for the future when you are a bona fide adventurer. The bed, your favorite worldly possession. This is where you spend the better part of your resting hours dreaming of the day when you'll become a great adventurer. So we get the theme here is that he's obviously got big dreams, wants to become an adventurer, but obviously still in the small town, this village of Marin's Rest. What's this? We got a dirty mug. The remains of your oatmeal and milk from the night before. You better get this to your mother for cleaning before it starts to stink up the room. So we can actually pick that up. It says you should turn this into your mother so she isn't wondering where this mug went off to. And now we've got this dirty mug in our inventory. And we need to go back to the tavern. Except the door's locked. We're going to need a key to unlock it. So the dirty mug is basically, since it's the tutorial section, you know, it's teaching you that you can pick things up and put them in your inventory. This is going to teach you here, you need a key to unlock the door. Well, the key would be, if you go look at your storage chest, there's a simple chest where you keep items of importance, such as the key to your room and some spare clothes, along with some trinkets, such as a strange small blue gemstone you found while exploring the forest the other day. Room not clean, going to hell. Yes. So we can get that, and inside you see a small key, some spare clothes, and a strange gemstone. Gotta keep an ear out for the kettle. You add the key and strange gemstone to your pack. Now you'll see we have this strange gemstone, size of your thumb. It has several runes carved into its surface, and it glows with a warm sunlight. With a slight warmth, sorry. It's early, I haven't had coffee, I'm reading incorrectly. You found it inside of an old stump in the woods east of town the other day while you were out foraging for mushrooms. And then we have a simple iron key forged for a simple iron lock. Morning, Ericmar. Aha! Door still seems like... Oh, wait. I have a key now. Also notice here real quick. The inventory is down here, but if you notice my tooltip right now, it's a pointer with a circle in the middle. We could probably enlarge this a little bit. That's more UI stuff that we could do in the future. It's empty right now, which means I don't have anything selected, but if I actually pick up the key, now it has the key icon within there. And then I can click the door. Used it on the door. Now we've unlocked the door. And we're into the tavern. Now, I did a video over on YouTube a couple months back talking about Easter eggs in our point-and-click game. So if you're a fan of Easter eggs, there's going to be a lot of stuff in this game for folks. I don't want to spoil too much, but I do want to show you the type of Easter eggs that we're talking about. So anybody out there, we'll do an overview here first, and we'll see if anybody gets the references. And if nobody does get the references in chat, then I will drop the tips about what this is a reference to. So some of our Easter eggs are very straightforward and kind of in your face. Other ones are not so in your face and they're more subtle. So as you look around here, there's different things that you can click on, all these people that you can inspect, so on and so forth. Get over here, there's a table. And then there's a mug of ale in front of this individual. And if you click on this mug of ale to look at the description, it says, Mutter's milk, all the protein, vitamins, and carbs of your grandmother's best turkey dinner, plus 15% alcohol. And then if you inspect the individual sitting there, his name's Malcolm. Sitting alone at a table with a mug of ale in front of him, the man you've heard Master Fern call Captain Mal on occasions, has a sour look on his face as he ponders something. You wonder what he was a captain of, and when. Yes, Aragmar, this is our game. This is our project. Well, this is one part of our project. So, we have a guy named Captain Mal who's drinking something called Mutter's Milk, and then if we continue to inspect, we'll see a couple of characters over here at the bar, Hoban and Zoe. If you click on Zoe, it says, a tall woman with dark skin. You get the feeling that this is not a person you would want to get into an altercation with. She's eyeing the man beside her at the bar with mild amusement, and next to her is a man named Hoban. An average-looking man who's known about town for his sense of humor, Hoban is currently attempting a series of cheesy one-liners on the tall Amazonian woman at the bar next to him. Will T, you are on top of it, man. So we've got some Firefly references in here. These are subtle little things we've thrown in. And so as you get throughout the town and to get the village and everywhere else, you're going to find stuff like this. These are subtle nods to some of our favorite franchises. There's more when we get over into the bookstore, and we'll go into the bookstore this morning as I get my coffee. There's also Easter eggs for our project. So I mentioned earlier how our project is a point-and-click game alongside a series of books, which are like Dragonlance, and then we have the tabletop game itself, which is a setting. So we have the source book, and then there's the first campaign module. Now, if you've been reading the chapters as they've been published over on our Patreon page, they come out twice a month, you have met a series of main characters. Thana the Dwarf, Alfea the Brownie, Leanna the High Elf, Firen the Sea Elf, and her husband, the Half-Elf, Hylan. And those characters are dealing with the situation in the city of Parthana during the first 10 chapters of that book. What's happening in the first 10 chapters of that book is the exact same thing that's happening in the first campaign module for our tabletop setting. That campaign module is called Escape from Parthana. So we know who Thanon is from the book chapters, but we also know who Thanon is from the tabletop module. So if you've only ever played the tabletop module, you're going to know who Thanon is and the rest of those people. And if you've only ever read the books, you're going to know who Thanon is and the rest of his crew. And when you come over here and play this point-and-click game, so like there's a goatkin skull here, and it says the massive skull of a goatkin that once roamed the countryside for a season, killing local livestock. It sits on the head wall above the bar. There's a crevice in the middle of the forehead where the beast was felled with the mighty blow of an axe. And then if you inspect the axe, it says the axe of one Thanon Rockguard, a dwarf who led the adventuring party who slew the goatkin menace all those years ago. If you look closely, you can still see flecks of its green blood along the blade and its haft, or at least your overactive imagination has led you to believe you can see the blood of the beast, despite how many years it has been. So, we're getting subtle Easter eggs back to the other projects within the Weave and the Void itself, as well as these Firefly references and other things. I will be right back, though. I need to get my kettle and get it into the French press. Yeah, Will. By the way, so I'm back. Chris, apparently the kettle went off while while I was playing, so I didn't know. So when we sat down to develop this project, originally we were just going to do it as a point and click game, and that was it. And then we sat down and really got to start talking about it. It's like, well, why don't we just do all of these things together? That way we've got an overarching storyline that comes together throughout all the various projects. It is pretty ambitious, but it's also something that doesn't take a lot of people. So the previous project we worked on with the Saga Leucemia, I was the creative director of that. That's based on my series that I created in the late 90s in the D&D world that I created there. That was an MMORPG, and so I think the biggest the team was at one point was 22 people. So managing 22 people as the creative director and the founder of Stormhaven Studios, by the end of it, I was just tired of running that many people. So doing a project like this, even though it's ambitious, I don't have to manage that many people. It's literally just my brother and I working on this. My brother does all the Unreal development, and I do all the writing. And then I handle everything on the tabletop side, all of the writing and everything else. And then Chris does all the artwork for the tabletop book. And then for the book chapters, I'm doing all the writing, and then Chris does the chapter art. And then we needed character art, so we got Nathan Napalm to come do character art for us. So he's currently working on the classes section, sorry, not the races. He's working on the class art right now for the tabletop book. But this is something that we can do with 3 or 4 people as opposed to needing 20 or more. But yeah, let's dive into the rest of this so we can give you guys a little bit more of insight into what's going on. So if you remember, we picked up the mug in the room. If we inspect this person here, here's a cheerful woman who could be called handsome rather than beautiful. Quick to smile and sharp of wit, she has owned the Stony Brook Tavern for as long as you have known her, and given that she is your mother, that means your entire life. So Marion F. Ifen is your mother, and if we talk to her... Good morning. Hey, Mom, here's that mug. So remember that mug we picked up in our bedroom? This mug needs cleaning. And she says, one of these days, you're going to have to learn how to clean your own dishes. And how many times have I told you not to take food into your bedroom? So we've essentially turned the mug in at this point. And we can talk to her again. Hey, sleepyhead. Ah, you're so funny, Mom. And she says, I'm funnier when you help out. Go fetch that dirty plate from the table over there and bring it back to me so I can clean it. There's other dialogue options here, like anything exciting happened while I was getting my beauty sleep. She says, other than Rand Pearlstein looking like his wife got the better of him in an argument, no, it's been a quiet morning. And you look like you could still use a few more sessions until you are beautiful. Thanks, Mom. Love you too. Rand Pearlstein will notice there's a couple over at the table in the tavern, and if we inspect them, they've been fighting, and you can definitely tell. So there's some subtle nods to other things that are going on here. You can ask your mom how she's feeling. Well enough, my dear. Old man Milton is smelling a bit riper than usual today. So old man Milton is that drunk over to the right who's just kind of hanging out there. Somehow, magically, he always has money. Milton, the old town drunk, stinks as bad as he always does. The only reason your mother tolerates him is he somehow always manages to have enough coin to keep himself deep in his cups with a fully paid tab, despite having no known job that anyone isn't aware of. That is going to be a later on Easter egg. So if you pay attention in the beginning to who old man Milton is, the old drunk, we'll find out more about him later. Now, your mom mentioned something about this dirty plate from the table, right? So if you can look around here and be like, okay, I'm looking for a plate. No plate on this table. This is Rand and Jill, by the way. Over here, there's a mug of ale. Boom, dirty plate. So we can pick this up. This is essentially teaching you about how some NPCs are going to ask you to do something, or they're going to ask you to get something. And when they ask you, what it does in-game is it spawns the item that you need. Oftentimes we don't have that item in the game. Sometimes it will be in the game, but it won't have a description text on it until such time as you've triggered the quest, at which point it changes the world state and applies a tag to that item so that the item is then interactable. So we have now picked up the plate. It's now in our inventory. Your mother asked you to retrieve this for you. Now this is something where, because we don't have a quest tracker in our game, we're going back to the old school Quest for Glory and King's Quest style of games, where everything was based on, small little quests that are easy for you to remember. You don't have 50 items in your quest tracker because you're not doing fetch quests per se. You're only doing one or two things at a time. So we don't have a quest tracker, but what we do have is if you inspect quest objects in your inventory, you will be given a description, and that description usually gives you a hint as to what you're supposed to do with that item. There's also, when you download the demo, there's a PDF that comes with the demo. I think it's called Adventure Gaming for Dummies. I think is literally the name of the PDF. And it tells you sort of how to play and some of these tips and hints. So we can go back to her, and we can deliver this plate, or this bowl. Yeah, dirty plate. I just realized that the icon is of a bowl, not of a plate. I'll need to let my brother know about that. If you would, please deliver this loaf of bread to the smith, Corbin Fern. And then return with his payment afterwards. So now we're getting another quest. Now that spawned a loaf of bread. There was not a loaf of bread here on the bar top before. So we can pick that up. Puts it in our inventory. Loaf of bread is still warm to the touch. The smell fills your nostrils and causes your mouth to water slightly. Might go ahead and head on out. So now we have entered the village of Marin's Rest. By the way, if you double click, you'll run. I'm just single clicking now for walking. And that's what I mean. I was telling earlier, the animations, we still have work to do on the animations. He's very bow-legged. So keeping in mind that this is a demo build from the alpha, that'll be something we work on polishing later on down the road. So off in the distance, you can see a windmill churning. Here we've got our signs. This is the Stony Brook Tavern. That's where we just came from. Then there's Lore and Lexicons, which is this building right here. There's Penny's General Store, which is right here. And then here we have, where's the sign for him? The Fire and Flint Forge. And here we have one Corbin Fern. And we were told to deliver bread to Corbin. Now, Corbin is also, this is another Easter egg for the readers of our books and those people who play our tabletop books. Corbin Fern is mentioned as being an old apprentice of Thanon Rockguard. So we can gather from that the books and the Escape from Parthana module, the actual campaign for the tabletop, took place quite some time ago, because or some of those took some time ago, because Corbin Fern was a child back then. So anyway, we get references to that because Thanon Rockguard mentions Corbin Fern being his apprentice. Timeline-wise, I'm sorry, I was getting ahead of myself there. Timeline-wise, all of these are taking place around the same time. But because in the book and in the module we get references to Corbin Fern, we know who he is, and that once upon a time, years ago, Thanon Rockguard and his group of adventurers were here in town because they obviously slew a beast, they slew a goatkin, Thanon's axe is on the wall, and Thanon trained Corbin Fern to be a smith. But when we're dealing with Thanon and Fearin, Althea, Hylan, and Lyanna in the current era, it's the same time as this is taking place. So even though Marin's Rest, which is this village, if you look at the world map, which is behind me, I need to figure out which way I need to point. You may, I don't know how well, let me look and see if you guys can see this. You should be able to see this. Let's see here. Yeah, you can see this. So Parthana is here. This is the city of Parthana down here. This is where the campaign module is taking place and where the book series is taking place. Marin's Rest is over here by Forkland. It's a little bit north and to the east of Forkland along this road, along this path. So campaign module in the book series is taking place over here, but at the same time, the point-and-click game that I'm playing right now is taking place over in here in the village of Marin's Rest, which is over at Forkland. And if you've been following the book series, as everything falls apart in Parthena and they have to escape in the books, when we pick up with Thanon and his adventuring party again, they're all the way over here in Marin's Rest. And in the book, they pick up a couple more adventurers and add them to their party in the town of Marin's Rest, but not the main character that we're playing from the game. But there are going to be events and places that coincide with each other. So some more Easter eggs for those people who are paying attention to the overarching story that takes place between the book that's being published on Patreon, and then the adventuring game here, and then the actual campaign modules that are being written for the tabletop campaign. So Mom asked us to deliver a loaf of bread to Corbin Fern. Let's look at him. So he's a middle-aged man. He has the rugged frame of someone who has spent his entire life swinging a hammer. His face is lined, but his eyes are kind, and he gives you a friendly nod as you approach. Greetings, apprentice. So we're getting a bit of a lore here. We are his apprentice, so we obviously work for him, or at least are learning from him. Good morning, Master. How are you today? My hands still grip the handle of my hammer well enough, and I am not yet a whitebeard. I would say that is as good as one could expect. Alright. Any news, Master? Those paladins came nosing around the forge earlier this morning, looking for some elven mage or some such. I reminded them we haven't seen their kind around these parts for nigh on a year now, but I reckon they'll be back again in a day or three. This is not RuneScape Remastered, Hyper Kaiju. This is a game called An Adventurer's Tale. It is a point-and-click game that I am working on with my brother and my wife. It is part of our overall Weave and the Void world. The game itself, called An Adventurer's Tale, is set within the world of the Weave and the Void. The World of the Weave and the Void is a 5th edition tabletop setting and campaign modules, along with a book series like Dragonlance and a point-and-click game like the old King's Quest and Quest for Glory games, all of which are being produced and published through our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. You can download the demo today. It's freely available. It's been out since October of last year. Go over to that Patreon page. There's a link to the newsletter. You can get it downloaded today. Now, Corbin's mentioning paladins that have come nosing around the forge. If you don't know who these people are, you'll get some subtle lore hints as we talk to more NPCs throughout the town, but we're talking about the paladins from the Church of the Elder Ways. And the lore of our world, we have the Church of the Elder Ways. Humanity are basically refugees here in the land of the Fae. About 500 years ago, humans had a continent to the south. Yep. There are texture issues and some other things here and there. You also see them on the chimney. If you look above Corbin Fern, there's some flickering textures on the chimney. That's why this is an alpha build. If you pay attention to the lore, humans came here about 500 years ago after their continent basically exploded. They had a huge quantum war and used a bunch of quantum bombs to bomb each other out of existence, and only a handful of humanity remained, and those handful made it over the mountains of Tarna into the realm of the Fae, which is where we're currently located. So humans are refugees here. And the Church of the Elder Ways is the remnants of humanity who brought quantum relics with them from the south. For those of you who are interested in doing a deep dive, we actually have on my YouTube channel here, if you go digging, there's a playlist called Project Drammond. So we had this project. This project was codenamed Project Drammond from March of 2021 until October of 2021. And my brother and I, along with Chris, did a whole bunch of brainstorming sessions where we publicly talked about all of the lore and the world building and everything else that we were doing for like March, April, and May. So if you really want to do a deep dive into that stuff, you can find more information out about it there. Otherwise, you can start reading the chapters over on the Patreon page. Those will get you in because it's the book, and that's the easiest way to get going. And of course, when the source book comes out in May or June, it's probably going to be June. When the source book comes out with that first campaign module, you'll get even more lore about who the the Church of the Elder Ways are. So we're going to deliver the loaf of bread. So I have that loaf of bread you were expecting from my mother. Ah, perfect timing. I was just about to have my midday meal. Here's the coin your mother will be expecting from me. So it just took that out of my inventory and it gave me a coin, which I'm supposed to go back and take to my mom. Now there's other stuff. Here's another little, here's one of my favorite Easter eggs. There's some random coins sitting here on the sharpening stone. And if you click this, small golden coins with the mark of the Church of the Elder Ways on one side and the Circle of Mages on the other. So that's a subtle lore hint. But here's my favorite part. When you pick them up, toss a coin to your Witcher. Oh yeah, we totally have a little bit of a Witcher show Easter egg in here as well. Back to the tavern. Alright, so we're supposed to talk to our mother again after we've gotten the coin from Corbin Fern. Here's the coin from Master Corbin. Thank you, child. Hopefully the man will remember to eat instead of only worrying about his precious metal. So here's one of those other things. We talk about this in the manual, but also I'll mention it here for those of you who decide to go download this demo today. Always talk to NPCs multiple times. After you've completed objectives, go back and talk to them again, because the dialogue will often change depending on the world state. So if you've done, like when you first talk to them, they're going to say something. Then if you talk to them again, they're probably going to say something else if you've done a quest for them. And then if you have another quest for them, talk to them again, because they will continue to have dialogue that changes based upon the world text. So this is the third block of dialogue that your mother has for you after you've turned in the bread. So going back and talk to people, remember that. Any news, mother? And she says, oh, other than those damned paladins coming around again this morning demanding to inspect our rooms for any elven guests, no. Things have been quite quiet so far today, or as quiet as they can be ever since the Church of the Elder Ways set up their garrison here. So we're getting some subtle lore here that Corbin said that paladins were sniffing around asking about elven mages. Your mom's telling you the paladins were here looking for elven guests. So we know now that the paladins are looking for elves, or specifically elven mages. The Church of the Elder Ways has obviously set up a garrison here recently. That didn't used to exist. That's something new. And that's a result of something that happened lore-wise about 6 months ago, when the city of Parthana fell. And if you read the book chapters, you know exactly what happens, because that's what the first 10 chapters of the book are all about, is the fall of Parthana. And the first campaign module is all about the player characters dealing with what's going on in Parthana during the fall of the city and then escaping from it. This game is called An Adventurer's Tale. I'll get to that in a minute, Sparrow. Guillermo, this is a game called An Adventurer's Tale. It's set in the world of the Weave and the Void. The world of the Weave and the Void is this map behind me. This is the world that I am working on with my brother and my wife. This is one part of the project. One part of the project is a point-and-click game, like the old Quest for Glory and King's Quest games. You can download the demo today. It's free over on our Patreon page, patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. Links are down below. There's also a book series that's being published twice a month on Patreon, which is very much like Dragonlance. And then we also have the 5th edition setting with the source book and the first campaign module due out in, I think, June of this year, May or June. Probably gonna be June. I should just say June. It's gonna be June. All of these projects come together lore-wise, but they are standalone. You know, you could read the book and not need to play the tabletop. You could play the point-and-click game and not need to do these other things. But if you've done all of these things and you've played the campaign module and you read the book and then you come play the point-and-click game, you're going to get these references because there's a lot of lore that ties in together here. We can ask her how things are. And she's complaining, oh, wish old man Milton would take a bath. He's smelling bad enough, I'm tempted to take him out back, stuff him into one of the water barrels, and close the lid on top of him and let him sit for a week. No worries, Guillermo, thanks for asking. Anything I can help with? And she says, you? Offering to help me without me having to ask? That's a first. But no, everything here is well in hand, thank you for asking. So, we've done everything we can do with our mother for the moment. There's a news board over here we can look at, which has some It may have some stuff on it later on as you get deeper into the game. We can inspect the barrels. We get some lore about the Kilkenny farm and mill. Alright, so, do I really hate paladins? No, but it's really easy. When Joey and I were coming up with the story that we wanted to tell with this game, and with the overall world, if you go back to the brainstorming videos that we did like last March and April when we were kicking things off, we really wanted to have a fantasy setting where we were basically looking at the pandemic, looking at COVID and saying, what if COVID existed in a fantasy setting? How would they be dealing with that? Because they don't have vaccines, and they would have cures maybe, but what if the cures weren't working? And what if it was continuing to spread, or what if there was, and then we went, oh, what if there was a mutation? And so that's what we came up with, was there is a big pandemic, and, well, in this case, an endemic, but a plague that starts in a city. The Church of the Elder Ways can't cure it with their quantum magics, so they enlist the help of the Circle of Mages, so that maybe magic can cure it. Magic appears to have cured it, and then we find out that magic didn't cure it, and these individuals go from being plagued and sick, and they start turning into something different. It's not, you could think of it like a zombie type situation where you get infected with something and then you turn into this other creature that craves human flesh. But they're not zombies. They're not undead. They're just something that craves human flesh. And when you get bitten or clawed or whatever, you turn if you're human. Now, it doesn't affect the Fae. So it doesn't affect elves, dwarves, brownies, halflings. Half-elves, however, there's some interesting stuff that happens to half-elves when they get bitten or clawed. So there's that going on, and we were starting to come up with, what if we had this like, and this is where my brother and I had some good discussions, because my brother's religious. I am not. So we had some very good discussions about how to approach having a religious group in the game be a source of power, kind of like the Catholic Church. But like, what if the Catholic Church had there were no other religions around, and it was just them, and what happened if they got a hold of technology and evolved to this point? So we definitely took that down the path, and then what would happen if they came up against magic? And then we started dabbling with other scenarios. Like, if you've seen the show Cursed on Netflix, I think it's a very good representation of sort of a top level view of what's going on, because we have certain members of the church, not all of the members of the church, we have certain members of the church, certain members of the clergy who believe that the Fae and magic are evil. And we get to a point where the zealot types, the zealots have taken over. But that doesn't represent all of the church. So when we're talking about paladins and Templars and stuff, here we have some of the overzealous types, but they're not all like that. And then on the flip side, you have the zealots within the Circle of Mages who believe that all paladins are evil, which is not the case. It's just something. All right, so at this point, we've done the first couple of quests. We've gotten an idea of how the game works, how to move your character, how to pick up items, how to talk to NPCs, how to use items to interact with, and etc. So at this point, the player is free to roam Marin's Rest, free to roam the village of Marin's Rest and do what they want. Now, if you haven't checked out the Diary of an Indie Game Dev, is that what they're called? There's a series we put out on our YouTube channel, not my YouTube channel here, but the YouTube channel for The Weave and the Void. My brother has done 5 episodes on how he's building this village. And we're not building it like a traditional point-and-click game. So a traditional point-and-click game, you would have, especially you're going back to like King's Quest or Quest for Glory, you're dealing with 2D panels, right? And if you go into some of the newer games, you're talking about a 2.5 dimension, so they call it 2.5D, where it's sort of a, you've got a painted background, but there's some depth to it. It might not be painted; it actually might be a hang on, I'm having a brain fart with my mouth. It might actually be a 3D rendered world like this, but you're only getting it from the side view as opposed to a three-dimensional view right here. We went with because we really loved the old Quest for Glory and King's Quest games, where you get a sort of a, depending on where you're at, it's either going to be a side view. It's never going to be top down, but it's a fixed camera that points in one direction or the other to give you the best view of the environment. So like when we walk into the tavern, I'll show you here what I'm talking about. When you walk into the tavern, you get a view that is right here. It's in the corner of the tavern, so you're getting a sort of 90-degree from that corner into the rest of the tavern. Then you go out, and we're back at the end of this road. Now, the reason I mention this is because that windmill in the distance that you can see, this is being built like one traditional MMORPG zone. So like a traditional zone that you would see in a massively multiplayer online game, that's how this is being built. We actually have, if you look at the artwork that I use for the weekly updates for this game, we do updates every Sunday on Patreon for this. And the artwork that's used for the adventuring game updates is a top-down view of the village in a partially built state. And so you can get a sense of what we're building here, because it's more than just this section. It's actually the whole village is one big zone, and then we just have basically at the end of each area there's a teleporter on each section, and when you teleport, if you go over here and click this one, it's going to teleport you to the new scene, and then you've got a new camera that's pointing in a different direction. You're still in the same zone, we're just now in a different scene within that zone. So it's still the same place, and then we just change the world state as we have objectives that get completed. So over here we can, there's three things you could do. You could go into Penny's General Store, you can go into Lore and Lexicons, you could talk to Corbin Fern. Let's talk to Corbin Fern, since we already talked to him. We know he's our master. He's we work for him as an apprentice. We've already talked to him once. We can come back. Anything you need doing? Ah, he has a quest now. Indeed. Fetch me one of those unfinished blades from the weapon rack, and let's see about finishing it today. So that spawns an unfinished blade here by the weapon rack, which we can pick up. This sword is nearly finished. It has been ground and roughly honed, leaving only the final sharpening and polishing to finish the blade. When we look over here at the sharpening stone, the sharpening stone is well worn and perhaps halfway through its life cycle. Several blades are stacked nearby, waiting their turn at the wheel. You wonder if Master Fern will have you sweating away at the stone today. And well, he asked us to do it, so we got this unfinished blade here. It's been ground and roughly honed, leaving only the final sharpening and polishing to finish the blade. So we can go use the sharpening stone. You crank the lever on the sharpening stone and watch as it rotates. I think we actually have to click the unfinished blade. I forget how to do this one. Ah, perfect. Ah, we have to talk to him next. Why don't you take this over to the sharpening stone and get this ready for polishing? I'll take care of it, sir. Aha! There we go. So I had to talk to him first. I forgot that. I forgot how to play my own game. With a mighty heave, or at least as mighty as your arms can manage, you turn the crank on the sharpening stone. After several rotations, the heavy stone wheel is spinning nicely, and you spend the next 15 minutes or so adding a rough edge to the blade. Here's the blade, master. Your sharpening skills leave much to be desired, but this is better than your last attempt. There is progress here, and that is all that matters. But that will be all for now. Here's a coin for your labor. Maybe you could buy yourself one of those books you love so much. This is a subtle hint that maybe you should go to the bookstore next. Now we can talk to him again, because we've just finished up a quest, and now he has a whole line of dialogue here. Lore drops. What can you tell me about the Church of the Elder Ways, master? Be careful of sticking your nose in places where it doesn't belong. A dangerous group, that lot. Best keep your head down, mind on other things. So he's not going to give us much information. What about, have you ever seen an elven mage? Not around these parts, at least not in recent years. We once had a hedge mage who lived up in that old hermit cabin north of town, but that was before you were born. But one of those circle of mage types? No, not around here. Any news? Well, we already asked about that earlier. How are you today? So we've already heard that one too, so we've exhausted that. So let's go to lore and lexicons. So this is the bookstore. Lore and lexicons. Rupert Longshanks, an elderly gentleman with a tidy white beard. Rupert Longshanks has been the proprietor of Lore and Lexicons for as long as you have a memory. His love of books is overshadowed only by his love of good wine, although no one would go so far as to call him a lush. He does get a little giggly when reading romance novels in the late hours of the winter after a few glasses of his favorite red, though he will deny ever reading such drivel if questioned about it. So, the Hermit Hut, yes, Sparrow. There's some interesting stuff with that Hermit Hut. Rupert apparently likes to read Twilight novels, maybe 50 Shades of Grey in his spare time, but he won't tell anybody about it. He denies it. He denies it. Reading romance novels with his red wine. That just makes me laugh. I had a lot of fun writing stuff here for the bookstore. There's a lot of fun stuff in here. I'm not going to spoil everything. There is a book here. The worn leather-bound tome has the title Dwarves and Elves, the Etiquette and Protocol of Interspecies Relations in silver lettering upon the spine. You've never heard of dwarves and elves being involved in relationships, but you suppose it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Still, it sounds like advanced reading. You better stick to adventuring tales. So this is an Easter egg throwback when we did the playtesting with our patrons in August and September of 2021. And playtesting, I mean the playtesting for the Escape from Parthana module, which is our 5th edition, the first campaign module in that tabletop setting. One of the things that happened, I think it was session 3 or 4, Duende the High Elf, one of the characters, decided to go off and do his own thing, and he went back to the Circle of Mages and was doing some investigations, and I rolled the dice and had to come up with like a random book that he pulled off of a shelf, and it just popped into my mind. It was this book on interspecies relationships, the etiquette and protocol of dating between dwarves and elves. And so that got thrown in here as an Easter egg. The only people who are ever going to understand it is the people who watched the playtesting or were part of the playtesting. Those playtesting sessions are up in the Project Drammond playlist. And also, I think I did a Patreon post at some point. You'll have to go back and find it. Probably late September of last year or October. There's a post that has the finale, and it has all 6 of the episodes linked, so you can go watch those if you want to watch the playtesting. But that's what this is from. Now, if we go upstairs, this is where there's more Easter eggs, especially over here at this bookshelf. What's this book? Now, some of these are going to be really deep Easter eggs. Sparrow says, I want to start creating my character for this world. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. Can't wait. Another thing for those of you watching. So right now we're playing on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Central on the Twitch channel for the Weave in the Void. We are playing through the Lost Mine of Phandelver campaign. Sparrow is one of the individuals in that campaign. She also has a Twitch channel. Don't forget to check it out. Twitch.tv/Sparrow. We're currently wrapping up the Lost Mine of Phandelver campaign, and then the same group of folks who have been playing with us the last few months, Nathan Napalm, Simmerk, Sparrow, her husband Bounty Code, Chris, my wife, my brother Joey, and I. We're going to be moving over and we're going to be streaming the Weave in the Void campaign, and we're starting with the Escape from Parthana module. So once the module and the source book drop around May or June, we're going to be rolling right into streaming those sessions on Sunday night, and we're going to be carrying everybody through that campaign in a live stream. So here's a book. An old worn tome bound in red leather sits upon the shelf, the initials BB inscribed in gold leaf upon the spine. The title upon the cover is There and Back Again. You've never read the book, though Rupert has recommended it on several occasions as one of his favorites. So this is a throwback to, if you've ever read The Hobbit, you know what we're talking about here. But we have these are subtle notes. Now, what I want to point out next, this massive tome right here, look at the size of that book. That thing is huge. It's like 4 or 5 books together. This massive book has the image of a large serpent eating its own tail depicted on the cover. The author is listed as one James Oliver Rigney Jr., and the book is something about a circle of time or some such. The book is so huge that you have always felt it was too daunting a tome to pick up. I'm missing a period there at the end of that sentence, but the point is, this is another one of those little fun Easter eggs that you'll find that I've peppered in throughout the game. Most of you will get this. Those of you who don't get it, I'll spoil it for you. This is obviously a reference to The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, but I used his real name here, and we obviously don't call it The Wheel of Time. We say Circle of Time. And the image of the large serpent eating its own tail would be the Aes Sedai ring. I love, this is me nerding out a little bit. I love playing around with words and descriptions and like putting these little Easter eggs in. It's so fun. There's obviously some more on the shelf. I don't want to spoil it for everybody because obviously I do want you to go download the demo and play it for yourselves. You can go get this over at patreon.com/wandering hermits. There's a link there to our newsletter. You can sign up. Make sure you check your email to follow through the autoresponders and everything, and then you'll eventually get a download link. You also get the game. You get the map of Marin's Rest, which I built in Incarnate, and there's also the PDF, which is, I think it's called Adventure Gaming for Dummies, but it's just a quick little PDF guide on how to play our point-and-click game. There's some other stuff in here. We may come back here in a minute and talk to Rupert some more. We can also go look at Penny's General Store. And I'm going to need some more coffee soon. Alright, there's Penny Goodspell. A short woman who could probably pass for a halfling despite her human heritage. Penny Goodspell is a good friend of your mother. Along with running the general store for Marin's Rest, she has also kept you stocked with a steady supply of hard candy for Angloria over the years. Although that's just between you and her. Angloria, on the map, you might not be able to see it from there, but Angloria is down here. It is the next biggest city after Parthana, and it's where the Church of the Elder Ways put their new headquarters after the fall of Parthana. So that's obviously you're getting candy from there that's been shipped in by ship. Box of bottles. There are some quirky little puns in here. These boots were made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. That's a pretty lame one, but I put it in there anyway. The ladder is probably one of my favorites. Never trust ladders. They're always up to something. This is obviously, so the reason I have these types of things in here is because this is a family-friendly game. This is not a PG-13 game. This is very much a, I would say, I don't even know if it'll be PG. It's going to be like a G-rated game. It's for everyone. Kids. My 6-year-old nephew, before he turned 6, he was 5. My 5-year-old nephew was the first tester for this. My brother and I, as we would get builds out, we would give them to my nephew, and he would play through. And he obviously is at a beginning level of reading, but he has a very good. He's already reading like he was reading Harry Potter last year at the same time that he was playing this game. So his reading level is very advanced for a 5-year-old. But he's our #1 tester. So this game is being built for, kids in mind. So these little jokes, adults might get a chuckle out of them, where kids might not understand it, but some of them they will get. There's also did you ever hear the one about the father who named his son Wagon Wheel? That is a reference that you're not going to get unless you go out and Google it, or you've ever heard this. So there's some really cheesy stuff in here beyond the Easter eggs if you start digging around. Kitchenware, some other stuff. If you talk to Penny, she has your typical. Okay, see that right there? Hold on, I wanna go back. This is another little thing. If you play the game, watch when he approaches. Watch his legs. I didn't do it that time. Let's see if I can get him to do it again. I might have to come back in. But we definitely have some. This is why I always remind people this is a demo build of an alpha. So there's some fun little quirks like the flickering textures, the bow-legged animations, and this right here when you talk to Penny. There it is. He's like, there's something going on with colliders there that we haven't quite figured out yet. But as he's approaching Penny, if you're approaching her via the talk button right after you come in, and that's the only time it does it, he'll start like spasming as he's walking towards her. So that's fun. Yes, family-friendly content is good. So that's the difference though too, Sparrow, is because the point-and-click game is very much meant to be family-friendly. This is meant to be something that kids can play because, excuse me, I have very fond memories of playing the King's Quest games and Quest for Glory games when I was a kid. And those games got me into gaming. And there are obviously things in those games that are meant for adults that kids will never understand. But they're not things that are like overtly dirty or anything like that. Then we get into the book. The book series is definitely more PG-13. I'm not going to put sex scenes into that book, but I will. There is violence, and there is some adult matter in the books. So the books are more PG-13. Then we have the tabletop game, which is also going to be like PG-13, although results will vary because when you're playing tabletop, the way the campaign plays out depends on the players usually, and that could end up becoming something a little more graphic. Now, what's interesting is like when I wrote Echoes of the Past for the Saga of Lucemia, I first wrote that as like a not Robert Jordan. I first wrote that like George R.R. Martin, like an adult fantasy, like it was very much an adult story. And then when I came back and revamped it later on, I made it PG-13 because I was like, you know what, I should probably shoot for more like a Robert Jordan type PG-13 because then that gives me a wider audience to read it. Because as good as George R.R. Martin's books are, as good as Wheel of Time is, you do not want to let a kid read those books. There's some very adult stuff that goes on in those books. And I love those books. And I have written stories like that, with short stories and stuff. But with this one, we definitely wanted to keep it down, PG-13, so that everyone can enjoy it. But the point and click game in particular is something we want kids to be able to dive into. And then if they like this, they can go from here and read books and go from there and do tabletop with friends and family and stuff. More stuff about the Church of the Elder Ways. Now, Penny has a much more lax point of view about the Church of the Elder Ways. They have some interesting ideas about where the soul goes after we die, but I've never been one for all that fantastic mumbo jumbo. I'll leave all that fanciful imagination stuff up to Rupert, if you don't mind. But she's definitely more sort of lax about the church. So we've got Corbin, who's telling you stay away from those paladins. They're dangerous. Then you've got your mom, who's like, oh, they're annoying. We haven't asked Rupert about them yet. Penny has a very much, oh, they're just, they're just funny guys. They've got that weird thing they think about the soul and all that stuff. But we are getting subtle lore hints to stuff. And then we talk about specialty goods. She asks, would you like to see my current wares? And this is when we get into, you can actually buy things. And these will be quest items that you need later on for quests. So, not going to spoil anything here, but you can also click on these. You get a description and how much it costs. These are all items that will be needed for quests later on in the game. So, does she have any specialty goods? Okay, I'll be going. And I think it is important to have family-friendly content, Sparrow. I think that lots of games out there do adult content well. Like a good example, I love the God of War series. The older games are okay. The one they just did a couple years ago with the Norse theme and everything, that game is amazing. That's probably PG-13. Depending on your point of view, because it has a lot of violence in it. But there's no sex or anything like that. It's just violence. But that's like a game that's more geared towards the adult audience who grew up with the God of War series. I'm trying to think of a game that has come out in recent years that is like adult only, that's a really good game, but that I wouldn't want to let kids play. I'd have to think about that one for a minute. Oh, Cyberpunk 2077. That is a great game. Or The Witcher 3. Witcher 3, Cyberpunk, those are both amazing games. Definitely not something I would want to let kids play. Nathan has a really funny story about Cyberpunk because he was playing it back when they had the bug where because you can actually show genitalia in that game. Um, he played it when they still had the bug where if you were playing a guy, the male genitalia would show through. And so he said he was playing, and one of his kids walked in and just got a big eyeful of a massive schlong hanging out of his pants. And I was just like, he was like, no, no. He's like, no, you can't see this. Run away. And every time Nathan tells that story, I'm in tears because he's like, scarred one of his kids, for life. Video game schlong. Um, I don't know. I can't think of any games off the top of my head, Sparrow. I mean, obviously there are scenes in the Witcher 3 game because you can have romance sequences. I would consider those to be PG-13 romance scenes because you do see some boobs, but it's not like over the top. Um, Cyberpunk 2077 is definitely more like R-rated, I would say, because it's more in your face. And you could specifically go to like prostitutes and stuff. So, I mean, it is what it is. There's all sorts of different types of games, and you're right. Everybody has a personal preference that they'll dive into. All right, I need more coffee, so I'll be right back, everybody. All right, I got a fresh cup of coffee. Let's go ahead and finish this, everybody. All right, so for those of you who might be tuning in for the first time, you might just be dropping in here. You're wondering what I'm playing. This is a game called An Adventurer's Tale. It is a point-and-click adventure like the old Quest for Glory and King's Quest games, although more like King's Quest because it doesn't have combat, and the Quest for Glory games did have combat. But this is the game that I am building alongside my brother, Joey Anderson, and my wife, Christina Barrios, through our production company called Wandering Hermits. The world itself is called The Weave and the Void. It's this world map behind me. You can find everything about this world over at our Patreon page, is patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. You can download the demo. I'm playing the demo right now. The demo's been available since October of last year. It's completely free. Just go over to the Patreon page, scroll down a little bit. There's a link there to our newsletter. You can get signed up to the newsletter, and through the course of the autoresponders and everything, you'll get a download link to download this game. You can check it out. It's also a 5th edition tabletop setting and campaign modules and a book series, which is being published through Patreon. Chapter 13 actually goes live today, later today. I don't know exactly what time. Usually they come out about 10 o'clock, but today I've got another... I know I said yesterday that I was going to do the Is Tolkien a Racist video on Friday. I'm doing the Is Tolkien a Racist video today because I got bored last night and went ahead and recorded it. So at 10 o'clock today, I've got the next Tolkien video coming out. And then sometime after that, probably noon or 1 o'clock this afternoon, I'll have Chapter 13 out on Patreon. For those of you who want to read the book version of things that are going on in this world. So this is Rupert Longshanks. We can go ahead and have a chat with him. Oh, there's a fireplace? Nothing quite like a warm fire and a good book. You have spent many a winter's afternoon away from your chores, cozying up to the fireplace while reading the adventures of your favorite heroes from many of the books that line the shelves of this store. And by the way, there's a lot more books. There are a lot more books than the ones I showed you, but those are the ones that I wanted to promote as Easter eggs. All right, let's talk to Rupert. I need to stop tabbing out. Greetings, young bookworm. Greetings, Rupert. How are you?
Well enough, though I'm looking forward to the winter months when I'll have more time for reading. Plenty of spring cleaning to keep me busy in the meantime.
Anything you need help with?
As a matter of fact, yes. There's a crate of sundries upstairs that Penny from the general store brought over earlier today that you could sort through and see if you find anything of interest. Anything that's not a book or scroll is yours to do with as you please.
Ooh, that sounds cool. So what did he say? He said it was a... Hold on, I gotta go back. Oh, he just told me, don't forget to sort through that crate upstairs. I forgot about this. So sometimes, if you have a quest from someone, they might not talk to you again until after you've done whatever they asked you to do. So he says there's a crate upstairs that he wants me to sort through. Oh, there's the crate. This crate of sundries that Rupert asked you to sort through is full of various trinkets, scrolls, books, and journals. As you rummage through the contents, a small silver chain catches your eye. At the end of the chain is what looks to be a jewelry mount, inscribed with runes that look similar to the ones on the gemstone that you found in the forest the other day. Really? So here's that gemstone. So if we go over here and use the crate... You take the chain, put it in your pack. Now we have a silver chain with a jewelry mount. So now we get into the next part of this game. A small silver chain with a jewelry mount on the end of it, inscribed with runes that look similar to the ones on the gemstone. Perhaps you should try to slot the gem into the end. So this is where we get into, oh, we can combine objects with something else. Boom. Now we have a silver chain with a loose gemstone. The gem slots into the mount at the end of the silver chain, but it doesn't quite fit. Master Fern at the smithy may be able to help tighten the mount properly. So back to Master Fern we go. Greetings, apprentice. Hey, could you take a look at this gemstone and chain, Master?
What's this then? Mount on this chain's a bit loose. I can fix it, but I'll need a new pair of pliers from Penny over at the general store. My old ones aren't good enough to work with something this small. Here's 5 gold. That should be enough to cover the tools.
So now he says Penny, so we go back to Penny. This now teaches us how to buy objects. Any specialty goods? Alright, small pliers. A pair of small pliers used in metalworking and jewel crafting for the handling of small objects. Would you like to purchase these for 5 gold coins? Yes, please. Okay then, here you go. Boom. We now have small pliers in our inventory. So we go back out. So we have our pliers. Here's the pliers, Master.
Let's see here. Okay. So this looks like it goes here, and this goes there. Let's give this a quick tap of the hammer. There. I think that about does it. You know, this might be something magical. You should take it back to Rupert and see if he's got something in one of his books that can tell you more.
So now if we inspect the silver chain again, it says the blue gemstone now fits snugly into the mount at the end of the silver chain. Corbin suggested talking to Rupert to find out more about the item, as he thinks it might be magical in nature.
Back to the Lorne lexicons.
At this stage of the morning, I am also interested in that big old piece of ham, Aragmore. I am starving. Alright. I forgot about the Easter eggs here. Well, I don't know if I'll do it now, but part of Rupert's normal dialogue is he sells books that you can buy from him, and there's some really fun books in there that you can purchase from him. Master Fern says this might be magical. Could you take a look?
Magical item? Let me see. You know, with these runes, it very well could be, but they could also be nothing more than someone's artistic flair. Now that you mention it, I think I maybe saw something like this in one of the books on the top shelf up there. Top level. Something to do with dwarven archaeology, I think. Go see what you could find. If we inspect it again, we're now getting a subtle hint that we need to look for a book on gemstones and jewel craft in the shop. Can I talk to Looper about... Yeah! So if we ask about the Church of the Elder Ways, this is... You get another lore version here. He goes, a tricky subject if you lack the context of their history before arriving here in the land of the Fae. Many of their members have their hearts in the right place, but it's the zealots you have to watch out for. They catch you reading a book on magic and they might just take you for a mage, even if it's just for study. What do you know about magic, Mr. Rupert? No more than most of our kind, I'm afraid. It's a hidden art for humans. Though I may have learned a trick or two in my time from reading books, real magic is something that only the Fae have knowledge of. Any news? Some lackwit paladins from the Church of the Elder Ways were rummaging around again, insinuating that any books on the history of the Fae need to be handed over by the end of the month or there will be hell to pay. Can you imagine? Alright, what do you have for sale? I have some books that may interest you. So we get some really fun books here you can buy. The Nose Knows, Regarding Halflings, Conversations with an Ogre, Farming for Dummies, and Where... I forgot about Where's Wallace. So this is like Where's Waldo, but instead of Where's Waldo, it's Where's Wallace. Where's Wallace? A picture book for children where each page has a detailed painting with the main character hidden somewhere within. You still get the giggles when you find him, though you always make sure no one else is watching when you do. Would you like to purchase this book for 10 gold coins? No. What about Farming for Dummies? Having grown up in Marin's Rest, the idea of someone needing a book to tell them how to weed a garden or shear sheep seems silly, but you're sure someone out there will appreciate instructions on shoveling stables and more. Conversations with an Ogre. You're not sure you would ever want to meet an ogre, but just in case you ever do, this book is chock full of simple phrases to keep one occupied in basic conversation until the authorities can arrive and dispatch it for you. Ah! So this... I have a short story in Bloody Knuckles. It's my anthology of science fiction short stories. And this is a subtle nod to one of my short stories, because one of my short stories, I can't remember the name of it, but it's about a knight-errant and his talking horse, and they have to deal with a young ogre, I believe, or it might be a troll. I think it's a troll, actually. They have to deal with a young troll who's living under the bridge, and he can't collect the tolls anymore because he's been blinded, and there's a whole story to it. But one of the things that struck me when I was coming up with this phrase was the whole... The book is chock full of simple phrases to help you keep an ogre occupied in basic conversation until the authorities can arrive and dispatch it for you. For me, that's just funny. Sorry, it's my sense of humor. Oh, this one's good. Regarding halflings. A book about halflings and their various customs and ways of life. It's shorter than most other books you've read. Would you like to purchase it for 10 gold coins? I'm sorry, that's just my sense of humor at play. It's shorter than most other books you've read. Alright. He told me to go upstairs and find a book. Bookshelf. Strange book. Haha. Dwarven artifacts, mundane to mystical. Alright, inspect the book. You scan the pages of the book, eagerly looking for any mention of an item like the one you have in your pouch. The first few chapters have detailed descriptions and sketches of various plates, pitchers, forks, knives, and other cutlery and kitchenware uncovered in various dwarven ruins over the years. You think you might be out of luck until you flip towards the back of the book and get to the section on mystical items, where you see a simple sketch that looks similar to the object you are holding, along with a reference to something called light crystals. You should take this book back to Rupert to see what he can tell you. Well, what have you found?
I think I found something, Master Longshanks.
Ah, yes, mundane to mystical. exactly the book I was remembering. Let's see here. Light crystals? My, these sound interesting. Apparently they were used by dwarven excavators and miners to illuminate tunnels while digging, but they required charging with elemental magic. You know, Harry the Hermit on the northern edge of town has a fascination with crystals and rocks and minerals and such. You should take this to him and see what he knows. Boom! That gets you to the end of the demo for our point-and-click game. So obviously, I showed you quite a bit this morning. There's more here if you want to dig in. You can download the demo over at our Patreon page, patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. I'd say it just depends on who you are. Most people who have played this for the first time, if you're going through and doing all the Easter eggs and you're reading all the text and you're taking your time, it's about 45 minutes. You can also blow through the main quest line in about 20 minutes. So your mileage is going to vary. We looked at all the other demos that were on Steam, and most people were putting out 20 to 30 minute demos for their games. So that's what we shot for, was 30 minutes, and we ended up with something that, depending on your reading speed and how many Easter eggs you read through, it's about 45 minutes at the max end. So if you want to pre-order, you can go over to the Patreon page. I would urge you to download the free demo first. Just download the demo, play it. If you like what you see, you can pre-order the game from there. You can also pre-order the point-and-click books. You could also just subscribe for $3 a month, and you get access to the book chapters as they are published and a whole bunch of other stuff. Concept art, we do expense reports and a bunch of other stuff. And you get access to the patron section of our Discord, which is a private Discord section where we share things like last night. We shared off the first piece of concept art that Nathan Napalm delivered to us, which is a Hobbit Druid. No one else has seen that piece of concept art yet, other than our patrons. So that's the quick and dirty version of what I'm working on with my brother and my wife. Hopefully everybody enjoyed. I figured I would share that a little bit with people this morning. We'll switch over and play a little bit more of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order this morning. We definitely leave you hanging because the next part of this is you got to go talk to Harry the Hermit. But we can't get there yet because if we try to go north out of town, it says I can't reach there yet. So the confines of the demo are the starting area here of Marin's Rest. But if you get the village map that comes with the demo when you download it, you'll see the entirety of Marin's Rest, all the places you're going to be able to go. The point-and-click game is basically going to encompass Marin's Rest, a few zones in the forest outside. Then you're going to have to go across the ocean. Well, it's not really an ocean, it's the inner sea. So, again, all of this information is publicly available on the Project Ramen playlist here. Before we called it The Weave in the Void, it was codenamed Project Ramen. My brother and I did all the brainstorming videos publicly. So the storyline for this game is already out there. Basically, you're starting off in Marin's Rest. You want to become an adventurer. You're going to become an adventurer. You're going to meet a party of adventurers who are here in town, and they're going to give you a quest. They're going to give you a coin that allows you to become a member of the Adventurers Guild. And part of becoming a member of the Adventurers Guild, which by the way is a throwback to Quest for Glory games, the Adventurers Guild. Part of what you're going to have to do to get into the guild, your initiation, is you have to find a magical item and bring it back to the Adventurers Guild. And you're going to run back to Harry the Hermit with your little coin, and you're going to tell him, not Harry the Hermit, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself here. You're going to come back to Rupert at Lauren Lexicons, and you say, Rupert, I need to find a magical item, like a magical weapon or something. And he's going to point you to some books, and you're going to read the books, and it's going to tell you about this magical sword that was used to slay a dragon many, 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 many thousands of years ago. And that's going to lead you on this trail of going to these ancient dwarven ruins. If you look at the world map here, the ruins of Thexal, which are on this island in the middle of the inner sea, there's a big smoking volcano. 500 years ago in the history of this world, when the humans were having their quantum war, it caused quantum rifts all around the world. And the Dwarven Kingdom right now is down here in the Nurhain Mountains. When the quantum rifts happened, this wasn't here. The entire Dwarven mountain range, all the Dwarven kingdoms were up over in here. When the quantum wars were happening down south, it opened a rift here, and the elves, all of the elves had to come together with their best mages to try to close the rift, and when they did, it caused a huge explosion
right here, and that caused a massive crater, and that's what is the inner sea. It also caused the continents to break apart, which is why you have these islands up here and these islands over here that all used to be connected as part of one continent. And when this all happened, the explosion, the entire Dwarven kingdom shifted down here. But what was left is the ruins of Thexal and this smoking crater. Now, no one goes here because it's ruins and everyone's scared of the volcano because it's still active and everything else. But you, being a crazy young adventurer like you are, you're going to hear about this sword over here in the ruins, and you're going to go, well, I need to find that sword. And so the adventure for the character in Adventurer's Tale, you're going to go from Marin's Rest, you're going to go across the sea, you're going to go to the ruins of Thexal, which are dwarven ruins, and you're going to go down there and you're going to find this magical sword. So that's the story of this game, more or less. And so basically the first, I would say the first half of the game takes place in Marin's Rest, and you're doing lots of little things here, and you're getting lots of lore snippets and everything else, and then you're going to get sent across the island, and you're going to go to the Dwarven Ruins. Now, this silver chain and gem that you have here, we already know that it's a Dwarven light source. So I may be spoiling a little bit of the story for people, but that's okay because we're doing all of this publicly and through Patreon because we want people to be involved with this as we develop this. So this is obviously going to be something that you're going to need in the Dwarven Ruins, because if you're going underground into the Dwarven Ruins, it's probably going to be dark, caves, you're going to need a light source, there's going to be some other things that are light sources that you have to deal with, and this silver chain with the gem, this light gem that you're now basically starting to assemble, this will be something that you're going to need once you get over there. So this is going to be, if you can consider this like the main quest line, you're going to go from here, talk to Harry the Hermit. Harry the Hermit's going to have you do some other stuff. Then simultaneously, you're going to meet the adventurers. You're going to need to do their quest to get into the Adventurers Guild. That Adventurers Guild quest is going to then send you to the island. And all of these things are going to come together. And we're hoping to have like a... if you look at Quest for Glory, you can do a speed run. Or King's Quest 6 is a good example. You could do a speed run in like 4 hours. But if you've never played the game before, it's a good maybe 15, 20 hour experience. We're kind of shooting for that. We're looking at something that is a 15 to 20 hour experience if you've never played the game before. But if you're doing a speed run, you could probably do it in maybe 3 hours. So that's the short version of what we're building, everybody. So hopefully you'll check that out. In the meantime, let me get my... Actually, I should probably check YouTube right now because I probably have some more comments I need to answer. What time is it? 9 o'clock? Yeah, we can go play Star Wars for a few minutes. Chris is not up yet, so... Well, I mean, she's up and awake, but not out of bed. Do I have any held for review comments? No, we will not be doing expansions for this game, Aragmar. We're doing this game, and then we're going to turn around and start working on the second game. So we do have 3 games in this series planned. The first one is a simple point-and-click game. We're probably going to add... The idea is that we're going to add combat to the second game. And then the third game will probably be a... We're debating right now, but if you've ever played... Like, I've been playing... well, what's the name of this game? Hold on, I'll look it up for you, and I'll tell you what we're shooting for long term. I'm blanking on it now. It's a Lord of the Rings game for the PlayStation 1 or for the Xbox, I think. I think it's this one, Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. Let me double check. This is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's this game. So if you've ever played there was a game that came out for the Xbox called The Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, which is a kind of RPG. But when you went into combat, it went into turn-based. So you had your three party members versus whatever theirs was. So maybe kind of like the old Final Fantasy games as well. So you do your open world adventuring, but all the combat is turn-based, and it goes into like a top-down version of the combat screen. Also playing Bard's Tale 4 recently. That's another good example of what we're thinking we might make the third game. But right now it's point and click game, and then the second one's probably another point and click game with combat added, and then when we get to the third game, we're hopefully going to be able to evolve by that point that it can become a fully fledged RPG. But that's all smoke and mirrors until you know we get there. So no sequels though, or excuse me, no expansions. It's just we're looking at sequels after this one. Because right now we're keeping it small to things that we know the three of us can work on with a few contractors here and there. All right, where's my Xbox controller? Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom. I can't believe somebody posted that last night in our Discord. And I had to go back and post the where there's a whip, whoosh, there's a way. We don't wanna go to work today, but the Lord of the Whip says nay, nay, nay. Like a JRPG? Possibly, yeah. What was I doing? Oh yeah, Xbox. Open Sesame Xbox app. All day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. So let's get the game closed down. We're going to exit out of that. Right here, Chris. Chris is up and about now. Why is my Xbox being cranky? It's not wanting to connect via the app this morning. Well, while we're waiting on that, we can go do... What's up? Let's go ahead and redo this. I'm not sure why my Xbox is being cranky. It's on, but it's not wanting to connect to the app for me to run OBS to stream it. It's fine. In the meantime, let's answer comments. Guess we can go to big screen while we're doing that. Although you might not want to see this in big screen. Well, if it's going to be cranky, I might just go load Lotro. Cranky Xbox app. Yeah, I don't know. What's up? It's fine. I'll go do something else.
Where there's a whip, whoopsh, there's a way. Where there's a whip, whoopsh, there's a way.
Return of the Kings is not my favorite animated Lord of the Rings movie, but it does have some killer songs. Looks like Lotro has to patch, so while it's patching, do 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 do. Tonight is the night we are playing Lord of the Rings Online tonight. We will be streaming that. Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturday nights, I stream those sessions. So if you want to hang out with me tonight, you can come hang out with me and our gaming community. I'm going to load Lotro this morning since for some reason my Xbox app is being cranky about connecting. So we're just going to ignore it and go straight to some Lotro. Do, 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 do. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Oops, I turned the wrong one off. Okay, there we go. Turn the game capture off. The longest journey. I am playing right now um, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. It's the next one up in my point and click classic series. So I've already done the Dig, my LucasArts. Then I did Quest for Glory 1 by Sierra. Then I did Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Fathers by Sierra. And now I'm doing Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis by LucasArts. Yeah, LucasArts. So if you like point and click classic games, I have that. It's a series that I do once a month. Usually is when those I don't do those very frequently. It's like once a month I put out a video. That was at the request of our Discord community. They wanted me to do point and click games on YouTube. So I'm not streaming those though. That's just I am playing those games, having not played them in many many years since I was a kid, and then putting those kind of like reviews out, like this is the game. If you've never played it, go enjoy it. Here's a 10-15 minute video on this game. I got a list of like 15 point and click games I'm playing this year. It's mostly just a bunch of old LucasArts and Sierra games. Myst is on the list as well, so I'll be playing Myst again at some point. I haven't played Myst since it first came out, but I've got the remastered edition is on Xbox Game Pass, and um, what else do I have? The one I haven't played, there's one on my list that I haven't played, which is Conquest is a Longbow, Robin Hood. It's a Sierra game that I guess is one of the most ambitious point and click games they ever did. And I remember seeing the box when I was growing up, but for some reason I never got it, never played it. Um, so yeah. All right. Do I have any mail? I do have. Claim my silver and gold. Virtue experience. Do I have any? Ooh, I have a point I haven't spent. Improved intent concentration. I don't really care about that ability. Pathfinder. Oh yeah, I want increased speed buff, please. Okay, that's not slotted yet. So that's 8 of 14, 4 of 14, 8. Let's do some more fortitude. What do I need to be working on? Oh, I know what I could do is I could do a harvest run. After the looking for more show, yeah, we have looking for more show too today. Oh, that's a good thing. Good primer to remind everybody. Don't forget today, 5 p.m. Central, twitch.tv/Simmerg. You can come hang out in the Looking for More podcast/vodcast. Myself, Simmerg, and Nathan Napalm, as we sit around and talk about all things nerdy and gaming. We're definitely going to be talking about the Rings of Power show a little bit. Probably talking about some other stuff related to gaming. I know we've got Elden Ring. Everybody's psyched about that this week. I'm not going to be playing that. I know a lot of people have asked me if I am going to be playing that. I am not. The reason because I'm basically in the middle of a move right now, and I just don't have time to be buying a new game to play. I'm already playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Lord of the Rings Online. That's enough for me to worry about. That gives me a couple of games to play while I am in the throes of moving. But when I get finished with the move, I will be playing and streaming both Elden Ring and the Skywalker Saga Lego game, which is going to be awesome. Missions. What? Okay, how do I... you mentioned the missions. I have no idea what those missions are, Sparrow. Walk me through that. And how do I find them, etc. This is probably what you're talking about right here, Sparrow, which I've always ignored this quest because it says optional, report to a mission recruiter. At the behest of King Thorin Stonehelm, the dwarves of the Karamumbar seek the aid of skilled adventurers to secure distant dwarf holds to prepare Prince Durin and the Gabilika for victory in the forthcoming reclamation of Mount Gundabad. But isn't this for the Gundabad expansion? I mean, I'll accept it just to get it to stop pinging. Alright, so let me go back to Bree. I'm going to literally ride to Bree so that you can walk me through this, because I have no idea what you're talking about. Make sure that I'm bound here. Yes.
What can I do for you?
Take me to Bree. Well, yeah, you'll just have to tell me where to go in Bree, Sparrow, so that I can know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've never done missions ever. So where do I head from here? Now that I'm in Bree?
Truly, your heart holds no fear, brother.
While I'm here, I should definitely grab the in the center of Bree at the blue horse icon. The war effort stable master? Like this one right here? While I'm waiting for the answer to that, I will run down here and grab the VIP stuff. Gotta love the lagging Bree.
Will you give me a moment of your time, friend? Hello there.
Apparently I can't run through there. All day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Bree is annoying sometimes with the lag spikes. Stable master. So I only have that, like there's no quests here. Oh, that's fine, Sparrow. Like the only quest I have is that it says the talk to Varus at Agax Bar. This is for the gun bar quests though, like gun to bar. So I guess he's gonna send me somewhere? So I've got the options: Elder Slade, Erebor. Alright, so it's just shits and grins. I'm gonna go to Trestle Bridge and see. Brelag, absolutely. So, okay, so there's a mission dude here. Oh my. This is what you're talking about. So, I don't care about that one. This is what you're talking about right here. Because I'm in Trestle Bridge, and this person has all sorts of missions available. And apparently, oh my, they have rewards that you can get from doing quests. Like a cloak? I don't like that cloak. What about this one? Nah. But I've also got earrings. Ooh, what level are these? 130. My goodness. I wonder if those scale. Oh, no, they're level based. Hold up. Okay, so they have level based gear. So this is kind of like an optional. So like, you know, you have the skirmishes that you can go do, and you can get skirmish points, and you can spend skirmish points to buy gear from the skirmish camp. We also have missions now, apparently, which we can do. I'm not going to run a mission this morning, but now that I know this is here, that might be the next thing that I do, just for shits and giggles, so that I can try. I have never done these before. I never even knew that these existed. Are these like instances, Sparrow, or are they in the open world? Like this is, we're in the North Downs up there. Is this something that you can do in the North Downs, or does it put you into an instance? Ooh, I have not been here yet. Yay!
How can I be of service?
I am gonna ride to Esseline though.
And while I'm writing, this is the perfect moment for me to hit a bio. I will be right back. Okay, so like the instance. Okay, so like the skirmishes. Cool. All right, I'll be right back. Maybe perfect timing. We're almost to the point where I can jump off and start mining some groovy ore and wood and stuff. Alright, somewhere around here. Bring forth the ore. And the you. I need your you.
Oh, you're so precious.
I'll probably just dismount because I need hides as well.
I see some gold.
Gimme, gimme, gimme.
I thought I saw some gold. Where did it go? Did somebody mine it? Nope, it's over here.
Bring me your gold and your silver.
The dwarf ones and Erebor are my favorite. Well, I will definitely check those out. Sparrow. Might be something I could do with Chris, too, because... Not to sidetrack her, but if those are like one-off missions, you know what I mean, as opposed to lots and lots of fetch quests, because that is something I really hate about the fetch quests. Not for my sake, because I just ignore fetch quests, but because she's having to read all the dialogue, she gets really confused because she's like, wait, what? Going from having to do a main quest and suddenly needing to backtrack and do fetch quests for 5 levels so you can get up to the next part for the main quest. It would be nice to perhaps do these missions where instead of having to do side quests, she's just doing single missions. Food for thought. Alright, well, we're going to go a little bit further today, everybody. Probably about 9:30 will be my cutoff point, another 10-15 minutes, just an FYI. I have the next video coming out today. We're going to be doing, was Tolkien a racist? That'll be a fun... We'll see if it provokes anything. Might not do anything. It might be a video that doesn't get any traffic at all. You never know. The algorithm is a fickle thing. But I did... It's very interesting to me. People want to rewrite history. They want to go back and we got to rewrite Shakespeare. We got to rewrite Tolkien. We got to rewrite this. We got to rewrite that. And I'm like, well, if we're gonna start, what? We need to pull down the Mona Lisa and repaint the Mona Lisa because someone doesn't like the way she smiles or she's showing too much bosom, or what? Like, I just don't get it. So it's gonna be a fun. We'll see if it provokes a conversation or if we just get a lot of trolls who are like,
Yeah! Black people aren't allowed to be in Lord of the Rings.
oh, perfect, Sparrow. Yeah, I know nothing about them, so it's going to be a brand new thing to me to figure that out and go do them. I have frogs in my throat. It's probably because we went for a walk yesterday and all the dust and everything. But I will wind up my circuit here. So it'll be, today's schedule is going to be the Tolkien video that'll go out, and then I'll probably be busy for a couple hours answering comments and everything on that. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to be editing chapter 13 and getting it out on Patreon. This is a bigger chapter. Probably one of the biggest chapters. When I first started writing the chapters for Patreon, I was trying to keep them to 2,000 words just because I was doing an experiment following something that Kevin J. Anderson had said about, keeping your chapters to around 2,000 words. But I just don't feel like I can convey enough information in 2,000 words. It was kind of okay for some of the prologue chapters for part 1, the first 10 chapters, but I already know for a fact that there's like 3 chapters, I think it is, that I'm gonna have to expand when I go back and do the revisions, because there's just way more information that needs to come over from the module and get into the book. And then once I get into part 2, I just threw that out the window and I said, you know what, I'm gonna use the 2,000 as a minimum and try to just keep that as my guideline. And so I'm doing between 2,000 and 3,000 word chapters at this point. But I'm not doing, because my guideline for Echoes of the Past was 6,000 word chapters, so most of my chapters were around 7,000 words, which is like 2 or 3 of these, so it's doing something quite different with this one. No, the sci-fi novel that I was working on at the beginning of last year, I was doing 3,000 word chapters was the minimum. And I felt like that's a pretty good number. Like 3,000 is pretty solid. I'm gonna have to go check TikTok. Apparently I got some fun messages. Probably my brother. I think I actually have all the hides I need. I don't need to farm hides. I'm past this tier already with these guys. What I really need is ore. That's what I'm here for primarily, is the ore. And I can send the yew to my woodworker because I don't have a lot of wood. I don't have a lot of yew wood left on him. I'm sitting here farming hides really. I really don't need to farm hides. Let's just complete our ore circuit and then we'll go back to Esseldine and call it a morning. Smug Smirker, yeah. Man, I cannot get that Whip is the Way song out of my head this morning. That's Joe's fault. Rich iron deposit. This is the circuit I need to show Kel, because he was wanting to find rich iron and stuff. This is my favorite circuit, is outside of Esseldine to the west, because you can mostly avoid the mobs if you want to, because they're spread out, but there's plenty of rich iron and ore. Rich iron and gold to be found. Basically, this whole area, just roam here on either side of the road. Just go north and south, the big circle. You'll find all the ore you could need, and also you, and you can kill animals for hides. It's a great... This is what, T3? I think this is the T3 circuit. Tier 3 circuit. I've been doing more and more stuff in Canva recently, at least for all my YouTube thumbnails. I used to do everything in Photoshop, but Canva is just so convenient. I'm actually debating whether or not to turn my subscription to Photoshop off for a few months and switch it over to I don't know. But I'm really, because I have whatever the subscription I have is like $10 a month, and I get Photoshop and Lightroom. And I actually usually use Lightroom quite a bit for all of the photography, like because we're doing the miniature photography, and then Chris and I have our photography that we do out and about. But I don't think I've used either one of those programs in about 6 or 8 weeks, just because I'm doing almost everything in Canva now for my thumbnail stuff, and I haven't done any photography for a few weeks. Canva's a really good. I've been learning it more. You can do. I just might have to sit down and chat with you about that one day, Sparrow, because Canva is literally. It's not as powerful as Photoshop with a lot of this, stuff. There's the free version and there's the paid version. But I'll tell you what, in terms of if you're doing lots of repetitive stuff like thumbnails for YouTube, it's all drag and drop. There's templates for everything under the sun. You can do videos. You can do anything. You can do. I mean, there's thousands of templates, and even the free version is very powerful. The paid version is also really, really cool. I was using the paid version with my previous day job. We had a business account. It's really cool, especially for thumbnails, because you can set up a template, which you can do in Photoshop, obviously, but it's so much easier on Canva, because once you've set up the template, you've got the fonts that you want and everything else. It's just drag and drop. So you just drag your new picture in, and it puts it there, and then you can just adjust things. The only caveat I would say, the only thing I don't like about Canva is you don't have nearly as much because with Photoshop you get all the fonts. There's so many fonts with Photoshop. And you could do a lot more with the shadowing and layering and everything else with your fonts and everything else. You can add different types of shadow and different types of all that stuff in the layers. You can't do as much of that within Canva, so you are somewhat limited. But yeah. Hey, Katrine. Yes, it does. It has great textures. And they're getting better. I mean, they're making environmental progress on things. Anyway, folks, you got here at the tail end, Katrine. I'm about to head out. Premiere and Audition. See, I don't use a lot of Adobe products. Really, it's only ever been Photoshop for stuff, and then I've used Lightroom over the years because Lightroom is like the #1 photo editing tool just for all of our travel photography and all the contracts we had over the years. Lightroom was just always the easiest and best solution for very quick editing of raw files, because you can just drop it in, and then I've got preset settings for texture and everything else. So Lightroom has always been there for me as a great photo editing tool. So when I saw this combo thing, it's only $10 a month, so it's a very affordable thing. Oh, okay, Katrine, cool. But I've never really dove into the other Adobe products, not projects. I need to go back to bed. Don't worry, there will be a nap forthcoming today. So, thanks to everybody who hung out today as I played our point-and-click adventure game, An Adventurer's Tale. Don't forget, if you want to know more about that, you can go over to the Patreon page, download it for free, patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. You can also pick up a subscription. Chapter 13 goes live later today, probably around 1 p.m. As soon as I get off of here, I'm publishing the latest video in the Tolkien series. We're going to be talking about, was Tolkien a racist? So as soon as I wrap up the stream, so that's going to go out in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Thanks to everybody for hanging out today, for chatting, all those good things. I will be back tomorrow morning. Same time, same place, like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. Central Time. We will be streaming tonight. Don't forget Thursday nights, Friday nights, and Saturday nights from 8 p.m. Central onwards. We stream Lord of the Rings Online with our gaming community, the Blackbirds. We are on the Laurelin server if you want to join us. You can ping us in Discord or hit me up in game for an invite. We'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. Central streaming the game. So hopefully we'll see you tonight. Otherwise, I'll catch some of you tomorrow morning for the next wake up stream. Thanks so much for hanging out today, everybody. And stay tuned. Video coming live to YouTube here in a few minutes. And yes, I will enjoy my nap because this doesn't happen naturally, ladies and gentlemen. This is just, lots of beauty rest.